In our news bulletin for this evening, the Chief Electoral Officer sets a reminder for the pending elections, and some voters will get a chance to vote in advance. New police are prepared to monitor elections to ensure the safety of the community. Budding athletes put on a spectacular show at New Primary School's annual Sports Day. Registrations and license renewals ended last month, while New Police set a grace period and encouraged people to pay. Some voters will have the chance to vote in advance for candidates in the upcoming general elections this week. Chief Electoral Officer Hubert Kaloni says that arrangements have been made for those intending to depart the island who are eligible to vote to do so on Thursday afternoon and Friday morning. Voters have been encouraged to exercise their democratic rights to elect their village representatives as well as common role representatives accordingly. This will be an opportunity to elect those who will take leadership within their village and common role constituencies for the next 3 years. However, a reminder has been set by the Chief Electoral Officer that people can only vote in the electorate where they have been registered and cannot go to another polling booth or station to vote. Therefore, if you are registered on the electoral roll of Alofi North, you will have to go to the polling station within that village and not at any other village. According to the Chief Electoral Officer, the final electoral roll has also revealed that there are 1,088 registered voters. There have been questions posed regarding names of those on that list. Mr. Kaloni says there are reasons and explanations that are supported by legislation that gives them the authority to make amendments, but these are subject to certain guidelines, where at times they cannot remove names unless people have been absent for 3 consecutive years. On another note, the campaigning has also officially started for hopeful candidates in this year's elections as the Broadcasting Corporation opened up the airwaves for broadcasting of messages starting today until midnight on Friday. For some, they have taken to social media that would be appealing to younger voters. The Justice Department is opening the office polling booth on Thursday afternoon from 1 to 3 p.m. and on Friday morning from 9 in the morning until 12 midday for those who will be voting in advance, but only after they have filled in the necessary forms. Niue Police are set to play their role in monitoring the elections with briefing sessions with police staff this week. The focus, according to the Chief of Police, Tony Edwards, is to ensure safety and that the election process goes without incidents. They have plans set in place for staff to be stationed at polling booths on polling day and monitoring activities throughout.
Most of the polling booths, we're focusing more so onto those who have assemblymen involved in common roles. For those who are just got common role members to vote, we're not really focused on those polling booths for this week. So we've got our members stationed around to the important polling booths. So I've got enough staff to carry out the our plan for this week, and I think that we're prepared for it, and we're just ready to have a go on Saturday.
In the past, there have been a number of incidents that have escalated, and Chief Edwards says that this time they hope to be more prepared than they have ever been. Leading up to the elections, there also tends to be some tension in some villages, but this is something they've tried to clamp down on.
We've dealt with a couple of incidents, and I've encouraged and given stern warnings out to ensure that, before the lead up of the elections, that everyone is liable, that if you commit an offence, you will be dealt with, and the only way that we can deal with this is that you will be prosecuted. We've made this known to a lot of people, not just directly to hotspots, but anyone who will disturb the peace throughout the elections. We will be dealing with those people. So just making sure that we keep the lid on and making sure that everyone goes through a pleasant election this week.
Chief of Police Edwards says that safety is paramount and they hope that people will cooperate. He says that everyone is entitled to a good time, but within reason, and hopes that the elections will run smoothly. Niue Primary School's Sports Day proved to be quite the spectacle, with youngsters putting their best foot forward for the annual event. The marching got off to an upbeat start with the early childhood centres starting, and followed by the 4 house teams from Niue Primary School with their challenges and chants. In particular, Malo's entertaining chant with a frying pan, indicating that they would fry their competition, proved to be a winner, as they took out this year's marching challenge, followed closely by Tufu, Hahave in 3rd and Paeko in 4th place. The guest speaker for the day, elite athlete Jinam Hopoto, made a superhero entrance in costume, jumping from the roof before going ahead and inspiring young minds with a message of commitment, endurance, perseverance, not only in sports, but in all they do in life. The heat turned it up a notch, but children eagerly competed in the various long-distance runs, sprint dashes, relay, and a new event this year, the hurdles. Athletes were rewarded for their efforts with placing ribbons sponsored by the Niue High Commissioner to New Zealand. And some of the champions for this year, in ECE, boys champion went to Alangani Whakausmanavalui, girls Sulia Kalapu. Beginner boys champion Marvin Talepita, beginner girls champion Liani Tafulua. Midget boys champion Ziniara Longa Longa. Midget girls Alani Mulia. Junior boys Kalenise Mai. Junior girls champion Diana Randrole. In the intermediate and seniors category, there were 2 divisions. Intermediate boys 1 went to Puleala Sione, and girls Shitoria Tafatu. Intermediate boys 2, Euta Fatulolo, and girls Chasal Mokoya. For the senior boys division 1, VJ Vilisoni was the champion, and for the girls went to Hope Mokole. And senior boys 2 went to Hinetasi Makaya, and for the girls went to Nikisha Kulupa Hayosi. As for the champion for the Seka competition for this year, that went to Aruki Mongavalu, and for the coconut bowling competition, that went to Tuilina Pioeva. Organisers had arranged that field events were held earlier in the week prior to the sports day to cut down on the length of the program, and all was done by 2 in the afternoon with a few sun-baked and exhausted youngsters. The overall team winning in points went to Tufu, second placing went to Paeko, Malo in 3rd, and 4th placing went to Hahai. Driver's licenses and vehicle registrations were up for renewal by the end of March, and Niue Police say there are still a number of people who have yet to pay. A reminder has been issued yearly for renewals for more than a month. Chief of Police Tony Edwards says they have been understanding and lenient, but staff will be boosting up checkpoints, and this will serve as a final reminder.
Police will start campaigning on the road. They'll be doing checkpoints to ensure that those who haven't paid come into pay. But we've had a pretty much good response to those who have vehicles, and again we're about 2 weeks out of the closing date. I'm not saying that it's good, but what I'm saying is I'm encouraging you to come in and pay for your registration. At the end of the day, you don't want to be disappointed when you have to appear in court. The normal practice is that we will give them a grace period. We will give them a compliance of how many so many days. It's a discretion to the police officer and how they perform their duties. But people just need to understand that when we give them a grace period, it doesn't mean that we're giving them a license to drive without a registration on their vehicles, but we're basically telling them that they need to ASAP come and pay for their registration licenses. So, people just need to be aware of that, that it's not a free driver's license for you to be driving around, but you should be able to do something about it.
Niue Police say to avoid disappointment and prosecution, arrangements need to be made now for payment of licenses and registrations as required by law. And that ends our news bulletin for this evening.